right, we're back with another NBA trade. This one is interesting because it's pretty recent and everyone knows it, but I felt like it was topical, and you'll see why pretty quickly. So this guy, he was born in 1991 in LA, grew up in Moreno Valley, California. His father owned a car wash, and his mother worked long hours to support the family. He loves sports, but quickly basketball became his obsession. When he was 16 years old, his father was shot and killed while working at the family car wash. The murder remains unsolved.
Right.
The very next night, he actually played in a game.
Wow.
He scored 17 points, and people who know him say that that loss shaped him forever. And since then, he's been like known as quiet, reserved, and focused. Basketball kind of became like the place where he was the loudest. He wasn't a top recruit. This might give it away. So he stayed close to home and he ended up playing at San Diego State.
Yeah, this is what I thought it was.
Yeah, there's not a lot of players like this, so gets
Yeah.
out pretty quickly. The scouts loved his defense, his rebounding, his work ethic. But they questioned with reason his offense and his shot. They also, questioned if he had the ability to become a star or can he really just be a defensive player. Before I say the draft, 2011, do you want to say who it is?
Yeah, this has gotta be Kawhi.
Absolutely. Once I said San Diego State, I thought it was pretty obvious.
Yeah. I also just, like, I was going through it, like, in my head, and I was like, there's not that many quiet superstars, Most of them are, like, pretty loud, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Tim Duncan was a quiet superstar.
Right, that's a good one.
Um, I think Steph's interesting. I think he's a little quiet sometimes, but he's pretty loud.
Right, he has a real personality, like, you would never accuse him of, like. Right, like, I wouldn't think of him as, like, quiet,
Right.
yeah, he's a goofy guy.
Future superstar OG Anunoby, he's quiet.
Yeah.
He's baby Kawhi.
Yeah, he seemed a little bit more fun though, honestly.
He is, but I don't think it's on purpose.
No. Did you see him at the ESPYs?
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, did you see that stance he took to get lower?
Hilarious. He's so
Everything he does is just so unintentionally funny.
yeah, really, really good.
He's like, I mean, he's the darling of New York right now. Like, he can't do anything wrong.
No, I would whatever. And then the whole everything they have going on over there has been awesome.
Yeah, I wonder how expensive the tickets are for like their opening night when I'm assuming opening night will be ring night.
I
Um,
think it's usually their first home game. Yeah,
I wonder because it's gonna be popping. New York is still like I still find myself watching highlights all the time.
yeah. You got to get like I don't know. You need a connection to get to that one. I feel like it's not going to be worth it to pay an actual ticket.
Interesting. We'll see. If any of our listeners have
Yeah,
connections,
if anyone wants to give us tickets, actually, I don't need one. To be honest.
we could go as a pod and we'll
Yeah, true.
discuss. Yeah, maybe we could get media passes.
Right, maybe that's the move. Maybe we just print media passes and walk in.
That would be hype.
Figure out how to do it. Yeah, I don't know. Can't be that hard.
Yeah. All right, let's get back to it. So, 2011 draft with the 15th pick, the Indiana Pacers selected Kawhi.
Yep.
Minutes later, he was traded to San Antonio. Um, Maybe at some point we'll do that trade, but that's pretty crazy. So Kawhi gets drafted into the NBA, and his teammates immediately are Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, and coached by Greg Popovich.
Yeah. Pretty ideal situation to
Pretty ideal situation, but also like, I'm sure there's a lot of pressure to like, you better do it right, like it is interesting, but I mean, if you're asking like who to learn about being a professional from, like that's the best crew.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine, like I guess some of these guys, like, they wanna be the number 1 and whatever, but I can't really think of a better situation to end up in than that.
Yeah, it's up there. It's one of the best ones you could be in. So he gets drafted, and they basically tell him, from the beginning, like, "Listen, we already got our guys. Like, your job right now, defend, rebound, and learn. Like, we're not putting any pressure on you on offense. Like, just learn, like, just defend really hard, rebound, and run. Like, and just learn from the others."
Right.
Quietly, in the beginning of his career, he just slowly but surely gets better and better on offense. And no one really talked about it, but he was quietly really improving. Then 2014 comes, and a 22-year-old Kawhi basically stunned the NBA world. He averaged 18 points a game, or nearly 18 points, while defending LeBron James. There's that famous clip of like LeBron shooting free throws, and then you see Kawhi like check in, and LeBron, you know that meme I'm talking about. Like he sees like Kawhi running to the table, and he like makes a face like dang it, because
Um, no.
yeah, we'll have to put that clip in a TikTok, but it's an all-time clip. LeBron's at the free throw line, and he's about to get the ball for a second free throw, and Popovich, like, taps Kawhi to run up to the table. LeBron sees it and makes, like, a look, like, "Dang it." Like, "Dang, like, I don't wanna play against that." Like, they're probably reading into it a little too much, but, like,
Yeah, but
it was Kawhi, like, a 22-year-old was guarding LeBron James, who was at the peak of his powers at that point, coming off back-to-back championships, um, or,
and you might
I
say also coming off of, some some special lab treatments, no?
it could be. That could be. Um, and, you know, he wins Finals MVP on a team with Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Ginobili. Like, the fact he was the Finals MVP,
Right.
and unbelievable at 22 years old. And that kind of like, at the time, people were like, this is, the beginning of another Spurs dynasty.
Yeah.
Um, okay, let's move along. Everything kind of unraveled in San Antonio in the year 2016. They had people forget this year. This is the year the Warriors, if I'm not mistaken, go 73-9. Meanwhile, the Spurs went 40-1 at home that year. People forget about that Spurs team. That Spurs team was fantastic, and it was about to be a legendary series in the conference finals, in the
It was
Western Conference Finals. The Spurs are up 20 in game 1, and then Kawhi lands on Zaza Pachulia's ankle, and has a terrible high ankle sprain. It basically ends the series. They end up getting swept.
and not only ends the series, changes the rules forever about that exact play.
Changes the rules forever, and ended, really, that play ended Kawhi's tenure in this on the Spurs.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
really a historic change. I mean, besides the fact that the Spurs were up 20 when this happens, and who knows what happens in that series if Kawhi doesn't get hurt. Instead, he gets hurt. We have a new rule. It ends his tenure in the Spurs, and the Warriors came back and won that game and swept them. So, just a really, really one of those moments that people forget about, that completely changed, the trajectory of his career and the league.
Yeah, and if you're lost on the rule that we're talking about, basically it's illegal. You have to give a shooter space to land. And if you step under them when they're shooting and they land on you and you, God forbid, sprain their ankle, well, either way, if they land on you or if you step into their landing zone, it's a flagrant foul automatically. And, it would have been interesting to see because Wemby had a very clear flagrant against Brunson in game 5 for this exact foul that didn't get called. And the NBA didn't have to review it afterwards and upgrade it, which would have led to Wemby getting suspended. So, it still is very, very important. To this day, we see this all the time, and this is exactly where it started.
And this is also, I mean, anyone who's played ball before knows like when someone does one of those closeouts and you're like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, especially if you're older, like, I got work tomorrow. Like, I'm not trying to roll my ankle. Like, it's not that serious. And I also believe that it's one of those things that dirty players do on purpose. So, like, um, I'm not saying Giannis is dirty, but Giannis does it to Kyrie, and Kyrie, breaks his ankle or sprains his ankle, and that ends the series between the Nets and the Bucks. That ends Kyrie's, participation in that series. The famous one with KD taking the turnaround jumper and steps on the line. So a lot of bad injuries have happened from that exact play. So I do like. I mean, it's sad that it's the Zaza rule and the Kawhi rule, but it is. I think it's a good rule. Obviously, um,
No, it has to exist because if you don't police these things hard, then right, like if you look at it on a one that where like nothing happens, you're like, really, that's a flagrant one. But when you know the history and you know everything that you've just recited about players who have missed the most important games of their lives because you stepped under them, like it's dangerous, and that's also why you see a lot of people just fall automatically.
right. So Kyrie actually does that. Like he won't land because of that. I think also, I mean, there's a difference in like closing out with your hands up and trying to block a shot versus like what Zaza did, where he didn't really jump. He just kind of steps under him, and then he even like turns around and acts like he's boxing out. Like that's when you know it's dirty. Like when the guy like kind of like steps into your landing zone and then acts like he's boxing out. Like they're kind of trying to get under you.
Yeah, it's
So
like, what are you trying to do here?
I'm not saying Zaza's dirty, but it was definitely a dangerous play, and it stinks because that could have been an all-time series, and who knows? I mean, Kawhi's story could be very different. Obviously, we'll get to it. He gets his revenge.
Yeah. Only thing I will say that is a little bit brutal is people who like to jump 4 feet forward. You
Right.
know?
So you're that's the James Harden of it all, where like now you get guys who will take shots that they flail and throw their legs forward, and that's not a basketball shooting motion. So there is, both extremes, obviously, and the league needs to find a middle ground. Most days I feel like they do a good job. Um, Not with Wemby, obviously, but
That was embarrassing. The whole the how whatever. We don't know. We
we don't have
spoke
to
enough about that
relitigate
final.
that because the Knicks won, but that was a joke.
The whole series, the reffing was an embarrassment for the
Pretty
NBA.
crazy, and the fact the Knicks still won and 4-1, it's pretty crazy.
That's why it won't be talked about. If there would have been if the Knicks would have lost that series and if let's say that the Knicks lose game 5 and it goes to game 6 and they don't upgrade that foul, like, I mean, I don't think I think they would have had to upgrade that foul because of how they didn't upgrade the last one and people were up in arms when he shoved the back of Brunson's head, which was also just insane. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
Like you said, we
I'm
don't.
convinced the only game the Knicks lost, which is game 3, I'm convinced they lost because there was so much anger about the reffings in game 1 and 2 that game 3, it didn't feel like the crowd and the Knicks were focused on the game. They were just angry about missed calls during the game. Like they were losing their composure.
Yeah,
And
I mean, I also think it was a big adrenaline dump, like that
of course,
court
and
was on, like,
Trump was in the building. There's a lot of other things, but I think there was so much like anger about previous games, and it kind of like the Knicks have been so good in not like being that team that, or they were so good in not like getting angry and keeping their cool in that game. It felt like they lost focus of of the main goal and got caught up in the reffing.
yeah.
So, but yeah, all right, back to it. So Kawhi lands on Zaza's foot. He hurts his ankle. They lose the series. Then comes in the offseason another issue. He gets diagnosed with quadriceps tendinopathy. Hopefully, I said that right. Um, and there was a disagreement between Kawhi's medical team and the Spurs doctors,
Right.
and there was some beef going on. And in the end, Kawhi only plays 9 games next season. And that's where the relationship starts to deteriorate. Some Spurs veterans were questioning Kawhi. Tony Parker publicly said that his own quad injury had been 100 times worse. A comment
Yikes.
which really fueled some noise and speculation. The
That's so
Spurs,
embarrassing, like, as a professional to even make a statement like that.
yeah, I mean, the only thing I could think is that, they're in middle of a season and trying to compete and they need him. And a guy like Tony Parker, who doesn't have a lot of seasons left, maybe was trying to like send a message, but that's not the right way to do it, obviously.
Yeah, I mean,
And
publicly, that's, like, the biggest no-go in sports is to make any
yeah, there is,
public.
I believe there's going to be like someday we'll get the truth about Kawhi. There's some stuff behind the scenes that even on the Raptors was going on that was talked about. And there's rumors that I think it's his uncle is a little too
Yeah.
heavily involved
There's a
and his
lot of weird stuff surrounding Kawhi.
right. Obviously, we have this Clipper scandal that, it's way too soon to go into that. But there's Kawhi, there's something definitely behind the scenes with him. I'm convinced it's his uncle slash agent who is
It is, it's not it's I mean, at least according to Pablo Torre, who has obviously done, uh, obscene amounts of research into this,
Pablo, you're invited to come on and discuss with us.
um, but, like, he said, like, there's something weird with his uncle, and his uncle's the guy who's trying to cut these deals where he doesn't actually have to do anything. Who knows what's true, but,
And,
yeah,
and
it
and
seems
I
like
think he was involved in this situation too, where he was like, "You don't owe them anything. Like, you don't need to play." So I think his uncle has always been involved a little bit, and there's always been some problems. But in these situations with injuries, I usually take the player's side. Um, Either way, it kind of gets ugly behind the scenes. The Spurs claim that they're supporting him, but I think they were at the time they're still pressuring him to play. He doesn't feel
there's a
like
lot of beef. The Spurs doctors were basically like, "You're good to go," and he was like, "I don't feel good to go," and, seemed like he got a second opinion who agreed with him.
right. Which I mean, I think the problem is that both sides are going to get an opinion that agrees with them. Like the Spurs doctors, I assume they work for the Spurs first. So they're
Right.
going to do
Although
what's
in this
best for the
scenario,
organization.
we'll get to what happens next. So, like, in this scenario, to me, it seems like Kawhi was probably right.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Even the next year, right? I mean, the guy's had knee injuries and injuries issues his whole career, and a lot of people think it stemmed from this. So take with
Yeah.
that what you think. So anyway, it comes to a head, and Kawhi requests a trade. For the Spurs, this is like unimaginable. Like this never happens. Tim Duncan never asked out. Dave Robinson, and now their guy who they believe is their next version of that wants out. Meanwhile, in Toronto, they had a similar situation. Not similar, but they have their franchise guy that they love, going through something as well. DeMar DeRozan loved Toronto. He embraced the city, um, unlike many Americans. Like he really embraced it and became their guy. He was a four-time All-Star there, the franchise leading scorer, and the face of the Raptors alongside Kyle Lowry. But there was one problem. Every spring, the playoffs would come along and LeBron James would kill them. Doesn't matter how good they played, they could win 59 games, which is what they won in 2018, finish first in the East, and LeBron shows up and sweeps them and
Yeah.
hits that spinning bank shot at the buzzer game 3. The Raptors never recovered. The nickname LeBronto was made, and they just couldn't get over that.
The LeBron days were wild. Because eventually, like, the first time it happens, it's whatever, and then the second time, but it starts to, like, it's just the hype at some point, and, like,
And
the
it
Toronto
also
couldn't get over like, for them, like, they knew LeBron was coming and he was gonna destroy them, and from LeBron's end, like, it built up too much on either side, like, negatively for the Raptors and positively for LeBron.
yeah, I mean, it's 100% it builds up in your head, especially with the Raptors, where it's like, "We can't beat this guy." Like, we were the best team in the East this year, and then he turned it on for the playoffs and swept us. Like, It
Right.
was never
Although
gonna happen.
it happened to everyone in the West. I mean, in the East.
Yeah. It's just that's why people say the East was weak, and it was because LeBron could kinda chill during the season and then just make a run to the championship.
Right. Like, and it was always a joke. Like you knew the Hawks with what was the remember the year where he went to 7 with everyone and then
Yeah.
he
That
still
was the year, he beat the Celtics with the young Tatum and Brown in 7.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that was one of his best playoff runs ever, but and then he gets swept by the Warriors. That's how good the Warriors were that year. But
I just remember that the year where the Hawks were, like, fake stacked, but, like, they I think they had the best record out of everyone in the regular season. They had Al Horford, Paul Millsap, Teague,
yeah, Jeff Teague was their point guard.
Goldberg, and yeah, LeBron just it was a joke.
Yeah,
LeBron
and that's the thing is, like, you can be, a good team and play like, they were like, "Oh, we have great chemistry, we play well together." Like KD says, in the Olympics documentary, like, chemistry is not gonna help you when you gotta guard Steph, and, like, chemistry is not gonna help you when it's LeBron James in his prime, coming through the other locker room. So, um, the Raptors, again, couldn't get over the hump, and they were the 1 seed and had won 59 games, and so most teams would run it back. Masai Ujiri did not. He said to himself, "Can this team actually win a championship?" And his answer, and I respect a GM who can actually be honest with himself. He answered, "No." Good wasn't enough, great wasn't enough. He needed better. And the Spurs called. Kawhi was available, but there was huge problems, right? He had barely played. No one knew how healthy he was. He wanted to go to LA, and he only had 1 year on the contract left. Most teams hesitated. Toronto did not. They were aggressive and made a move. The trade was Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green for DeMar DeRozan, Jacob Pirtle, who ends up going back to Toronto at some point. I think he's still there now, even, and a protected 2019 first, which became Keldon Johnson. NBA Twitter at the time exploded. People thought this was crazy. Toronto basically rented Kawhi for 1 season. Others were hating on the Spurs, like, how are you giving way less than you're getting way less than Leonard's worth? But then there was the whole health thing. So no one really at the time, I was trying to see, like, at the time, like, what people believed who won this trade. And I really think it was very mixed reviews. Some people thought, Toronto, you're giving up your all time league scorer and blah, 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 and you're only getting Kawhi for 1 year. And others were like, Spurs, how are you not getting more? So it was a little bit interesting. N- I don't think anyone really believed which team had won this trade at the time.
that's usually a good sign that it was a pretty even trade, no?
Well, I think all things considered, if Kawhi's healthy and has 5 years on his contract, this is a terrible trade. But he had 1 year left and he's not healthy. So there's a lot that goes into it. And I agree. I think that's a good sign when no one really has a correct answer. Um, all right, now let's talk about the next year. And this is special. I talk about this championship a lot. Like, people forget about this. This was like, just the perfect season. Um, Toronto, they load managed Kawhi a lot, and people criticized it, but the Raptors ignored him. By April, Kawhi was healthy and had an absolutely legendary playoff run. He
Yeah.
has the game 7 buzzer beater over Philly with the 12 bounces on the rim. That is, like, just iconic. He has he goes down 2-0 to Giannis and Milwaukee, and then wins 4 straight basically on one leg. People for like, I don't know if people need to watch those highlights. He was limping around and dominating. And then he beats the Warriors. And I know, KD gets hurt and eventually Clay gets hurt in game 6, which I still believe if Clay didn't get hurt, the Warriors will still would have won. But the fact is, Kawhi did this all on one leg, an absolutely legendary run. He averaged over 30 points per game in the postseason and gets his second finals MVP and brings Canada its first championship.
Yeah, I think I mean, we spoke about this playoff run. We talked about this, and we saw that this is considered one of the greatest playoff runs of all time. And I think I said at the time, which I still should be clowned for that. Like me as like like 17-year-old, I was like, this is it. Kawhi is going to be the GOAT. Not understanding like injuries or anything, or yeah, just anything. I was like, this is it. This guy's the great like he just has to win 4 more championships, and clearly he can win one in Toronto. Where can he win one?
Well, it's interesting because Kawhi is one of those guys you can always be like, "What if?" I mean, even now, like, if he's healthy in the playoffs, like, any team he's on has a puncher's chance.
Yeah, but once you get old, like I was watching I guess it was the inside guys, it was, um Shaq, Kenny, whatever, the squad. And Charles Barkley was saying like you don't get healthier as you get older. Like no matter what, you think about everyone's career and everyone's like, these guys missed the whole season and then they're like, but then I'm coming back next year, like, and I'm gonna be healthy. It never happens. Like all these guys like have more and more injuries as they get older. Like
Absolutely, and
who
especially, like, it just gets harder and harder to recover, and also, like, those injuries, even if you get healthy, they're not gone, like, you've gone through them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like even LeBron, who it took, 20 years before he started really getting injured. But like even now you see it. Like,
I mean, that dude's a freak.
yeah, I mean, but
I don't
he
think
is
he's
the
ever
outlier.
really been injured. I mean, this dude at, like, 40 would sprain his ankle and then just, like, shake it off and keep playing. He's a freak.
Yeah, he missed the beginning of this season with sciatica or whatever, but like he is like the outlier of all outliers, and you're still starting to see it like creep up on him a little bit. But all these guys, Steph, KD, everyone, like their injuries just they get worse as you get older. AD especially, like we haven't seen uh like we whatever. No one gets healthier. So Kawhi, yeah, he's awesome. Maybe if he only played in the playoffs, it would be good, but it's tough.
I feel like that's what also makes that championship so legendary is, like, they had to do it perfectly in one season, and there was something going on behind the scenes. He was injured. He was playing like, he was limping around a little bit, and that was part of it, that he fought through it and won in his one season there, and did it in such an amazing fashion with so many, like, iconic moments, that playoffs. Um,
Yeah.
so
I mean,
it was a
this
pretty legendary run, and I think that adds to it, that, like, a guy who could he's not a guy who can stay healthy, but they found a way, and, I think that was maybe the last year he was fully healthy, and he
yeah,
wasn't
like
either.
no, he never has been, he probably never will be. But when you think about this trade, like, it's not gonna get, like, the highest grade for me or anything, but it really is one of the greatest trades and, like, calling your shots of all time
Yeah.
by the Raptors.
So,
Like,
yeah,
everything
absolutely.
goes perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, the guy, yeah, he was 1 season there. He goes he averages 30 points a game in the playoffs. Game 7, the buzzer beater shot in a game 7, beats Giannis down 0-2, like, it's just unbelievable, and then wins Finals MVP against the Warriors, who were the Kings at that point, like, it's just, like, he couldn't have done more for them, and that's why it's crazy. He wins the championship, and then he leaves in free agency, and honestly, like, the Raptors, you can't even really be angry, like, the 2 brought you a championship.
Right. Which everyone I mean, I think the Raptors knew going in, like, I think maybe by the end, they were like, "Okay, like, we just won a championship. Like, we'll have a fighting chance to keep this guy," and maybe they did. I mean, what's his name? Pablo Torre says that the reason why they couldn't keep him is because they weren't willing to do any shady under the table stuff, the same way that the Clippers were. But, like, yeah, they traded for him. They won their first championship in the history of the organization, 24 years. It's an awesome I mean, people say it's like an amazing fan base, and like they were able to deliver that. Yeah, it sucks that you lost him after that. It's kinda crazy to leave that situation for
Well, see,
Kawhi.
I believe that deep down they thought, like, if he comes for a year, maybe he'll fall in love with it, and especially after they won, I think maybe they thought he would stay, but Kawhi's a different breed. He's just different, man.
Yeah, he's weird. It's gotta give good closure though, no? Like, for the Raptors, like, there's nothing there's nothing they coulda done different, you know? They did
Yeah,
every single thing they possibly could have to get him to stay, and he still left.
and by
Okay.
the way, now he's going back, and it's because it's for sure he liked it when he was there.
Might be going back, we'll see.
Oh, if the trade goes through, but I mean, he wouldn't have been okay with going back unless he liked it, and he only knew he liked it because he had been there before. Um, well, I wanna make one more point, which I think is very just, kind of forgotten in that team. If you look back at the people they had on that roster, like, a lot of people do act like Kawhi kinda carried him, and he did, but that team, like, if they were, like if you look back at it, like, they were a young super team in terms of talent, like, so it was Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, Kawhi, I think Marcus Gasol was on that team, or Serge Ibaka was on that team. OG Anunoby was on that team. Like, they have all these guys that if you're like, if that team was like, that's a really, really good team. Just some of them were like a little before they became a name. Like Siakam wasn't a name yet. OG wasn't a name yet. Fred Van
Also, wasn't
Fleet.
OG injured?
OG was injured for the playoffs, but he played for them for the season.
Right, Van Fleet, Valanciunas was on that team,
Like, but
Norman
especially
Powell.
like Siakam is like a quiet one that people don't talk about. Like that was like if you look at that team even now, like that's a really good team right now.
Yeah, and Danny Green also.
Right,
Like,
and
he was
Danny
part of the
Green,
trade.
who was a champion on the Spurs, a champion on the Raptors, and becomes a champion again on the Lakers.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, listen, the Raptors are like, the fact that they're good at all every year with literally no one wanting to play there, that they managed to be as good as they are is a testament to how good Masai Ujiri has been forever. Did he just get fired or something?
He's gone, he's not there anymore.
Yeah. But, I mean,
I
yeah,
think
like,
he now involved with the Mavericks?
I don't know, he's somewhere. He's still around. But, like, think about it. Is there anywhere that
Yeah,
NBA
he's the
players.
president of, basketball operations now for the Mavs.
Oh, that's amazing for them.
And they just made a trade for, Risache, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, it's interesting. It's never a good look if you're the first overall pick and you get traded for scraps 2 years later.
Right, but you
Not a lot
gotta
of.
think it's good for the Mavs, like, you're buying a high upside player for like, like
Oh, awesome for the Mavs. I mean, they could get nothing for it, but, like, they didn't give up anything, so
right,
it's.
exactly, like, it's a good gamble because, the upside is worth it.
Yeah, but I mean, is there anywhere you think in the NBA is there anywhere you think that NBA players are less interested in playing than Toronto?
I think there's a couple. I think there's Utah and Sacramento. Those 2, I think people dislike even more than Toronto, because no matter what, like, Toronto has a nightlife, like, it's actually a liked place, it's just not America, um, but I don't think people detest, like, going to Utah, like, no one wants to go there, um,
That's so weird to me. I would love to go to Utah, but I guess I don't care about a nightlife.
yeah, there's no nightlife there,
Rip City, it's sick.
people think it's a little racist there.
That could be. That sounds right. But I feel like it's got to be racist in a bunch of these places.
Yeah, I mean, Boston obviously has a reputation, but
Buffalo, but that's not NBA. Remember that Marshawn Lynch story? They,
say that again, where?
in Buffalo, Marshawn Lynch said that like
Oh, yeah, yeah,
they didn't want to sell them. They didn't want them in their bars.
right, so there's definitely places, I actually think Toronto's an underrated place, like, they're a well-run organization, Toronto like, their fans are into it, you have a whole country behind you, um,
Right.
you
That's why
know
we've seen guys fall in love with it, like DeRozan and Lowry. Like they liked being there. They enjoyed it. They just weren't good enough to get them over the over the hump.
Yeah.
We haven't seen anyone like truly love it who's been an awesome player. But I guess they don't get so many like top 10 guys there because they're always drafting like late in the lottery.
Yeah, and but you're not wrong, like, not a lot of people are really going there as a free agent very often.
Right. But I guess when you really think about it, where do free agents go? They only go to the Lakers or the Clippers.
Lakers, Heat, like, they're going they like going to
Right, they go to
places.
LA or Miami, they don't go anywhere else, but even the Heat have gotten so many, like, big free agents since LeBron.
Yeah, the big market is a real thing.
Right, it's funny though, it's an NBA thing. It's not an NFL thing. NFL players do not care where they play.
Do you think it's because NFL is, like, just such a different nightlife situation? Like, you play for like, when you're in season, like, you're just recovering. Like, I feel like it's just a different vibe this season.
Yeah, I don't know so much about it, but I don't think that these NFL guys are going out as much.
I think that just the NFL is so much harder to stay in, like, their career is so short that you're just happy to be on a roster most of the time.
Right, and also because of that, you get a lot less diva like, there's not a lot of divas in the NFL. There's some of the receivers, but,
Also,
like,
I mean,
there's not so much entitlement, like, you no one I think it's very clear that, like, you're not entitled to your roster spot, and you can lose it at any time.
and there's only 8 or 9 home games a year, so, like, even if your team stinks, you usually have a very good crowd because there's not that many games.
Yeah, but it's not about the crowd for these guys, it's about the nightlife, I think you're right.
Right, it's true. And I don't even by the way, it's not like people pick the Dolphins because of the nightlife, so
No, like, that's the thing with the NFL. It's it's the opposite, right? Like, what's his name was talking about this, Adam Silver was saying how, like, one of his goals is for, like, the same way that it's considered, uh, like, a must-see I mean, maybe not anymore, but, like, if the Steelers and the Packers are good, it's considered must-watch television to watch a team from Green Bay, Wisconsin play a team from Pittsburgh. Like, that is unfathomable for so he was saying, like, that's, like, the goal for the NBA is, like, like OKC now is, like, you're trying to get them to that level where it's, like, no one cares that it's Oklahoma City, that's fine, and, like, no one cares if you're playing the team from Utah, like, they're just, like, iconic franchises.
yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I just think market just doesn't matter in the NFL, like, even for viewership, like, the Knicks make the finals, and it's the biggest, most viewed NBA events in 30 years. The Super Bowl and playoffs in the NFL every year goes up. Like,
Yeah, I mean, the if you look at the most like, the top 100 watched telecasts every year in America, like, the top 20 are gonna be 16 NFL games. Super Bowl will always be number 1, and then, like, maybe something like the inauguration will, like, scrape in there at, like, 18 or something, but, like, Sunday Night Football destroys Game 7 of the NBA Finals, destroys it, like a
oh,
random Sunday Night Football game.
well, not the Knicks. The Knicks put up
We'll see.
numbies.
We'll see what happens, but I don't think you're right.
Yeah, but it's listen, football is king in this country. That's definitely true. And that's, regardless of market, it's the game. It's not about the market, it's about the game.
Yeah. It's football's king to me also. It's beautiful.
Okay, I think we're ready to give grades.
Yeah.
The
Let me
real quick, I'll just say again, the trade was Kawhi and Danny Green for DeRozan, Pirtle, and a first rounder, which later became Keldon Johnson. Um, and Danny Green was like he's a forgotten piece. He was really good on that championship team. He was, 10 points a game, 45% from 3, elite defender. Um,
this is to me, this is one of those trades that, like, if I was rating it on the good scale, right? Like for the Raptors, I would be like, this would be one of my highest grades ever. Like I'd have to put it at like an 8, 9 or something. But since we're grading it on the bad scale, it wasn't that bad for the Spurs, you know?
That's such a good point, like, and that's the thing is, like, you talked about calling your shot, like, if they don't win a championship, it's pretty bad trade, but you win a championship, like, I'm saying if they didn't win a championship and Kawhi leaves after 1 year, like, that's not a good trade, but they did win, and you'll always have that, and that calling the shot 1 year, you you win a championship, like, that like, the upside is so high, so I agree with you, I don't think it's such a bad trade for the Spurs, um, I
Right.
think
Like,
it's an unbelievable trade for the Raptors.
yeah, like to me, if I'm put like now that I'm thinking about it, it's not that bad. Like I'm gonna put it like at like a 3.5. Like from the Spurs perspective, the trade wasn't the issue. The issue was, the chemistry in the locker room and the their doctors like couldn't figure out whatever was going on with Kawhi exactly because he leaves and is healthy enough to, I mean, the Raptors do the opposite, right? Instead of being like, it's our doctors, whatever, they're like, "Look, we trust you. If you're saying you're hurt, you're hurt. Load manage them the entire season, get a ring out of it." So, like, to me, that's what they messed up. The trade itself was like, I guess, they got themselves into that situation. I'm putting it at a 3.5. Like I said, if I was grading it from a Raptors, how good it was for them, it's up there. It's an 8, 9.
Right.
Probably, if not higher. I mean, like, it's all time what they did, like, a place that can never get talent like this. They get him for the 1 year, they win the finals, they don't give up that much, like, that pick ends up being, like, 29th overall. Keldon Johnson's a solid player, sure, but that's a late first round pick because I guess it was probably that pick from winning the finals. So,
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't give up much, and Danny Green also was a great asset to them. So, awesome trade for them. Not that bad of a trade for the Spurs. And it's not like also Kawhi after that, right? Like, let's say the Spurs, he signed with the Spurs for 5 years. Okay, maybe they win the finals that year. Probably not. I don't know. Like, that was already when like those guys were all aging. After that, like, it's not like he went on to have this glamorous career. Like, he never made it back to the finals.
It's interesting you say it. So that's true, right? I mean, so it could be they sold at the right time. Um,
Well, they didn't get anything like that. It's not like they got great returns for him. So,
right. That's my only issue, and that's why I'm a little higher than you. I'm like a 3.9. I'd say my two problems with it is one, like, he's a big enough name. They didn't need to give up Danny Green. Um, and two, like, maybe you could have milked him for another pick. Like, I just think maybe they could have gotten a little bit more, but you're right. They didn't really have any um what's the word? They couldn't like they couldn't really they were kind of forced into it because everyone knew Kawhi wanted out. So it's like they couldn't really ask for more. So I don't think it's such a bad trade by them. And I agree with you completely. Toronto, like, just a fantastic move by them. I mean, Masai Ujiri has made a name for himself from that move. Um and a
yeah.
career for himself off of that. So
And the viral
um
video of him trying to trade for Giannis at the draft.
yeah, I mean, this guy, I mean, look at all the guys he drafted. Siakam, like, Barnes, he drafted a lot of good players, so I think he has a very good track record. Um, and it's yeah, I think it's one of the great just 1 year, like, rentals that you'll ever see.
Yeah. I can't think of one that's, like, much better than this.
Yeah, I have to rack my brain, but I agree, I don't know much that, like
How could it be better? Well, also, the truth is it's usually like, the shocking part is that it was still a rental. Usually, when you have this much success, you get the guys to stay.
yeah, that is I mean, agreed, I mean, you're right. I don't think there's another time in sports in NBA history where you'll find a guy who went there somewhere for 1 year and won the Finals MVP. So
Yeah, remember when the Thunder got Paul George to stay? That was crazy.
yeah, I mean, Paul George actually was really good there. He was what is he? He was 3rd in MVP voting, and he really liked playing with Westbrook.
Nice. Yeah, because he had, like they traded for him, and then he could have gone to free agency and gotten just as much money, and he was like, "I don't care," and just re-signed with them for the same price he would have got on the open market. Like, he that's crazy. And the Raptors couldn't even convince Kawhi coming off a Finals MVP and everything they asked for. Insane.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I think, I mean, Paul George had one of his best seasons of his career there, and Westbrook took a lot of pressure off him. Speaking of Westbrook, did you see this story about Westbrook in the Heat?
No,
Oh, it's such a funny story to me. Westbrook basically told them, "I'll sign with you, but not if LeBron goes,"
that's awesome.
because he still hates LeBron from the Lakers.
Lakers, yeah.
But that's just funny. I don't think the Heat should even want Westbrook. Maybe off the bench, but just funny.
Yeah,
Like he's like, maybe I'll come, but not if LeBron goes there.
I actually like I think Westbrook gets he gets too much hate. I just think he's a nice guy.
I think he became a little bit of a meme late in, obviously later in his career. Like, but to me, he'll always be like just that relentless monster on OKC. Like,
Yeah, but even just to me, like separating the person from the player, like it's just right. Like he's been like dragged through the mud a little bit for like no fault of his own. It's fair that he hates LeBron, honestly.
I do think he's a little stubborn. Like,
For
I
sure, he's
think
a tough personality. I remember because, back when I was in DC and I would go to Wizards games, he was like the nicest. He was the nicest guy. Like the fans, like he would always stay late, sign stuff. He would give out his shoes, his jersey. Like he was
anything you see about him, like off the court, like it's fantastic. Like the guy's just a great person. He does great stuff in the communities. Like everywhere he goes, he's like beloved. Like it's just, yeah, he's like on the court. There's some personality stuff that you
right. He's
know,
a little bit of a menace for sure.
and it's something that guys who get older kind of need to learn how to maybe change their role a little bit. And he hasn't really. He's a little too stubborn to do that.
Right. I mean, it's tough. It's always toughest for those kinds of guys who lived off of their athleticism and were, probably one of the like a top 10 athlete in the NBA for years, and we're like 6'3" and just dunking on people, and you're faster and stronger than guys. Like it's always harder. It's hardest for those guys.
Yeah,
All right, we got
agreed.
anything else?
No, that's it.
Thank you for listening to the Trade Rewind. You can find us on social media at the Trade Rewind on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. If you enjoy listening to the show, the best thing you can do for us is to leave us a 5-star on Spotify and share the episode.